What was your name when you signed the billion-year contract for Scientology Sea Org in 1986?
Christy Woods.
How old were you?
11.
And your life took a different turn to most signatories of that contract. What happened?
I was put into captivity for 10 years.
By?
David Miscavige.
What did he do to you?
Raped me. I had 6 of his children.
2 of whom you escaped with.
Yes.
During your 10 years in captivity, Shelley Miscavige, the missing wife of leader David Miscavige, played no small part in your life. Can you describe that?
She knew what was happening with me. She came a number of times and watched as he raped me.
You asked her for help?
Yes, she just ignored me.
What do you have to say to the likes of Mike Rinder or any of those former high-ranking ex-Scientologists who were on Gold Base around the time of your captivity?
You knew what was happening to me. You've done nothing. You know I'm still out here and you ignore me.
David Miscavige's father, Ron Miscavige, who left a number of years ago, is aware of your existence. What do you have to say to him?
What are you hiding by not providing a DNA sample to me?
His DNA sample can prove that David Miscavige is a paedophile, a rapist, and the father of your 6 children, correct?
Yes, correct.
Ron Miscavige, do the decent thing and provide Miss Woods with the DNA sample she requested and help bury your rapist and pedophile of a son.
Hi, everybody, and welcome back to Growing Up in Scientology. We're talking to Ron Miscavige today. Hi, Ron.
Good morning, Aaron.
Very brave of you to join me today, knowing how much I'm going to grill you about your undisclosed crimes.
Oh, of course, yeah. I mean, I'm shaking in my fucking boots. All right.
There's this woman named Christy Woods or Christy Siddall, or however you say her last name, who for the last 3 years has been trying to sell her story to the Washington Post, the Tampa Bay Times, Tony Ortega, and any former Scientologist she can find. And when I say sell, I don't mean she's actually asking for money, to the best of my knowledge. Not any. She claims that she was held by your son, David Miscavige, at the international base from the age of 12 as his private sex slave, raped her nonstop for 10 years. She had 6 kids with him. Dave's wife, Shelley, would come in and watch sometimes. And that all of the former INT executives who have left the Sea Org and left Scientology all know about this and are colluding to be silent and cover it up and cover up this child rape. And she wants you to submit a DNA sample to prove that her kids belong to David Miscavige. What say you?
Okay. Do we have many Scientologists watching this, you think?
Yes.
All right. So there is a process in Scientology where you are looking for what's called a person's item. And when you get this item, you feel relief in certain areas of your life, a multitude of things that it could relieve you of. Does that make sense? In other words, you get your item.
Well, I mean, it makes sense to me. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, let's say if you were a non-Scientologist, what I just said, would that kind of give you the idea what getting an item is?
Well, maybe not. It would be like, so if someone feels like they're lacking an answer, like let's say to themselves, and like, oh my God, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
And when they finally was like, oh my God, this is what's wrong with me, or like, this is what I've been looking for, that would be like finding the item, right?
Exactly. I think between the both of us, anybody watching this will get the idea of what we mean by a person getting its item, right?
Sure.
Now, this girl who's claiming these things, just what is her name again?
Christy.
Christy. Okay, Christy. Christy, if you're watching this, I would like you to do this, and I think it's going to help you. I want you to go get in front of a mirror, look at yourself in the mirror, and just say, I'm nuts. And I tell you, I think you're going to, now, don't take this personally. Just walk in front, look in the mirror, and say, I'm nuts. And I think it's going to help you tremendously. This is lunacy. And those of you who are buying this, for Christ's sake, man, come to your fucking senses. I mean, this is an international base where you're claiming that all these people knew about it. He's my son. Are you crazy? You answer that question.
Ron, isn't it at least possible that your son had a secret sex dungeon installed on the int base, and all this was happening without anyone's knowledge?
I will give you a comparable. It is as possible as I went to the moon yesterday, my physical body, picked up some valuable dirt, and I'm going to come back and sell it on the internet. It is that possible that that is true as what I just said to you. So let's consider the possibilities of that. I could have gone to the fucking moon. You know what I mean? Let's face it. It could have happened. Similarly, there would be a duck come in here with an alto saxophone and start playing jazz. You know, if we're in this realm of possibilities, that's another possibility. Aaron, it's completely fucking lunacy. Let's face it. This is
Well, it must have been very hard for you and Rinder and Headley and Devok to all keep your story straight for all these years. Do you ever worry that they're going to roll over on you before you can roll over on them?
well, we used to meet at 6 o'clock every day and go over the story, and we would Chinese school each other. Okay? Look, I guess I should keep a straight face because everybody deserves to live, okay? And you can think what you want to think, but when you start foisting off shit like this, and the worst thing is this, if some of the people believe it, come on, guys, get fucking real. Look, he's my son. I was at the international base for 26 and a half years. For me to believe this story, I'd have to have been kept in a solitary cell and didn't know anything that ever happened around me. And then people told me this story every day.
Right. So, Ron, I have been very quick and loud in saying that anyone who even thought this was true for a second is batshit fucking crazy. And yet I have been shocked to see which individuals actually believe this story. People who know you in real life believe this fucking story.
That's tough. Aaron, well, then they don't really know me. They don't really know me, I guess, because anybody who knows me will tell you that, you know, I'm a pretty straight shooter.
Right. Kathy Schenkelberg has said that she has known this woman for 3 years, has heard all of her story. She's completely not mentally insane. She believes her 100%.
Well, Kathy, by the way, I met you in Virginia some years ago. You're a very nice person, and I think you've been sold a bill of goods. I'll be honest with you. And you probably have a sympathy button for a person like that. And you keep on hearing the story. And after a while, maybe you think, well, it's possible. And just gradiently with little step by step, you may be thinking, well, maybe there's a possibility. Well, maybe there's more than a possibility. And then you start thinking, you know, it could be true. And you gradiently got yourself into thinking this person was telling you the truth. And in that person's mind, she's speaking from a delusion. It's got to be a delusion because it never fucking happened. In so many words. Don't take it personal, Kathy. I'm not putting you down for believing it, but you're believing a fairy tale. You know, it's nice to believe in the Tooth Fairy or Santa Claus. That's a worthwhile belief. But to believe that David Miscavige was involved in something like this, come on.
Now, to give a benefit of the doubt to some of the people who weren't in the Sea Org or at INT, or who don't have personal experience that would allow them to go, this is obviously ridiculous. It's probably fair to say that because of all of the stories that we've heard of actual sexual abuse, and because we know that internally in Scientology, sexual abuse is never reported to the authorities, right. I can understand how some people who, I'll just say, are Scientology watchers, that's not a derogatory term, I'm just saying, they observe everything that's happening in the world of Scientology and former Scientology. Right. I can understand how some of them would hear this and go, "Oh shit, that could have happened."
Yeah.
But the thing is, these stories in Scientology that you hear of sexual abuse not being reported to the authorities, those are totally valid stories. The thing is, within Scientology, and particularly the Sea Org, in these instances of unnormal sexual behavior, it's not reported to the authorities. But it is reported internally. Sea Org members get into a lot of trouble for doing even normal sex stuff. So, but let's put the doubters to rest here. If Christy, who, by the way, back in 2017 was saying she only had 5 kids with your son, David, now she's saying it's 6. So you think
wait, Aaron, that's an honest mistake. I can realize how come she could make a mistake like that. But continue. Go on.
If she had actually gone to the authorities, and I was saying, by the way, no one who's ever dealt with her has ever told me that she's ever gone to the authorities or the police or the FBI. In fact, yesterday someone told me, you know damn well she can't do that. And I thought, what? How? Why the fuck can't she do that? So I'll get to my point though. If she actually went to the police and filed a full detailed police report of her whole 10 years of abuse and whatever confinement, and the police came knocking on your door and said, Ron, we're conducting an investigation into these allegations being made against Dave, and we would like your DNA sample. If that request came from the actual authorities, would you agree to provide one?
I would be open to it if it came from the West Allis Police. I have complete faith in them. That would be the only ones I would ever. If somebody else came to my door, I would give them the 3 magic words: go fuck yourself. All right? Listen, the West Allis Police are the ones who caught the PIs who were trailing me for a year and a half, making $10,000 a week. Nick Pye, he's a lieutenant with the West Allis Police. I trust him implicitly. If he came, yeah, I'd say, Nick, no problem.
And that's when you say West Allis, that's where you currently live?
Yes, that's right. It's Milwaukee, basically. Let me just say something here. For those listeners who maybe doubt the veracity of what, like Mike Rinder or Leah or people may be covering up, is that what they're saying in this?
Yeah, oh, they think that Mike, the Headleys, Jackson, yourself, Tom, are all colluding to cover up this child rape because you would all be complicit in the crime.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I have a podcast. It's therealronmiscavige.com. Go on that podcast. There are 68 shows I've done so far. Look up these people who you're talking about. Listen to their interviews. Listen to what abuses they've suffered at the Church of Scientology, what they have to say, and then you tell me you think these people are covering up for this crime. Go ahead and do that and be your own judge, because I'll tell you right now, they're all honorable people, and none of us have ever colluded on any goddamn thing. Yeah, except this. Before I do the show, we get together and we get bullet points, and they tell me what they're going to talk about so I can monitor, you know, how the interview is going and whether we're in the time frame. And that's about the only thing that we collaborate on. But that's what you could do. See what these people sound like. See if you think these are people that would be witness to a crime and then keep silent about it. It's just so fucking unreal. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't even be taking the time to do this, Aaron. Be honest with you, okay? So I want you to know that.
I know, and I appreciate it. And Ron, just to preach into the choir here, here's what makes me so mad about this whole thing. And that anyone who you might generally have considered a friend in the past would even entertain this concept. It's not just about believing a sympathetic woman who's claiming to be the victim of abuse. That is not what this is about. Right. The thing is that in order to believe what she is saying, in order to entertain it, you have to also believe that Mike Rinder, Ron Sr., Ron Jr., Tom DeVocht, Mark and Claire Headley, Jeff Hawkins, Steve Hall, that they have all decided to sit on this and cover up child rape. You have to think that's possible. And when I say whoever believes this is fucking nuts, that's what I mean.
Yeah, I think you're being very gracious when you only say that. I mean, it's terrible to think that, but if they're thinking that, well, their thinking is off.
There was one other question. I feel like I'm forgetting something I wanted to ask you about. Oh, like I said, this woman's been trying to peddle this story for 3 years. I don't claim to know whether she's intentionally doing this as some sort of a con situation or if she's just mentally off or if it's a combination of both. It's probably a combination of both in my opinion, but nobody would have heard anything about this publicly until John McGee took it upon himself to publish a 2-minute interview with this woman and threw in a lot of loaded questions like, what do you have to say to the likes of Mike Rinder and every other former high-ranking Scientologist on the int base? And it's like, oh, fuck off. Have you ever dealt with John McGee?
No.
You have no idea who he is?
I have no idea who he is.
Okay. Did you even see the video yet?
No. Here's the thing. I have a feeling about dealing with lunatics. I don't have the time for it. I can't see the percentage in it. It's like me going in Philadelphia, because that's where you lived a lot of your life, out to Roosevelt Boulevard to EPI, what you think is the Eastern Pennsylvania Psychiatric Institute, right? And going in there and then striking up conversations with people. Look, God help them, they're nuts. But striking up conversations, listening to their story, and then trying to rationalize how it could be true. I mean, what the fuck? What? I have better ways to spend my time. I wouldn't stop if a dog barked at me on the street. Stop and say, "Hey, wait a minute, what are you barking at? Come on, now tell me about it." And spend 20 minutes trying to understand why the dog barked at me. For Christ's sake, man.
It's sad. You know, my only frame of reference for a very specifically defined population I've been a part of is the Scientology world. And the former Scientology world has an amazing number of straight up fucking crazy people. I mean, Ron, I know of a woman who I guarantee you if I gave you her name, you would know her. I'm not going to name her. She
Right.
was a VIP when she was in Scientology. She was a VIP when she was in the Sea Org even. And she's a normal ass person and she lives a normal ass life. And she thinks L. Ron Hubbard faked his death, is following her around and come and visits her at work and talks to her.
Yeah. Well, there was a lady at the Philadelphia org who said that in her apartment there was spying devices all over her apartment, and these people would watch her take a shower, and she was afraid to take a bath because of that. Somebody was always watching her. She believed it, and she had some sympathetic fears in Oregon. It's life. It's life on planet Earth. I mean, what am I going to say? You know?
Yeah. Do you think we have more crazy people in former Scientology than in the regular world, or what do you think?
I've never given it a thought. So it could be true. It could not be true. And be honest with you, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, you know, life is what it is, and you try to lead a good life and help people. Look, I've formed a philosophy, and it works for me. And it's just 2 sentences: help someone, help something. That's all. And I'll tell you, I feel good doing stuff like that. And that's my philosophy, if there is one that I could just pin down. And shit like this person, I don't know. I guess the best thing to do would be to ignore her, you know?
Yeah. Cool.
And
All right. Well, I don't know what else we could say on this subject. There's really not much to say other than what the fuck.
Yeah.
But anything else you want to say?
No, that's about right. That's about what else you could say. What the fuck, you know?
All right. Cool. Well, thanks, Ron. Thanks for taking the time.
Okay. And Aaron, I got to give you a credit for trying to get me through this. We had a hell of a time getting this hooked up. So I did learn something about computers today. And I appreciate your help. And good talking to you, buddy.
All right. Thanks again. Bye, Ron.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right inside here. If you have subscribed or not, subscribe